Greetings, mortals. Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, executioner, and colorfully costumed novelty act. Sometimes, you just can't win. Take our next offender, Can't Stop the Music. It was produced by Alan Carr, who just had a major musical hit with the movie Grease. It began filming in 1979 when both disco and its stars, gay fantasy group The Village People, were at the height of their popularity. It had a huge publicity campaign, including a one-hour TV special featuring guest stars such as Cher and Hugh Hefner. With that much momentum, what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, did you have to?
Well, for starters, director Nancy Walker and leading lady Valerie Perrin fought to the point where the cinematographer had to step in to direct Perrin's scenes. The Village People's lead singer, Victor Willis, quit the group right before production and had to be replaced by Ray Simpson. By the time the movie was released in 1980, the public had turned against disco with a vengeance. And, to top it all off, the movie partially inspired the annual celebration of rotten cinema known as the Golden Raspberry Awards, and won their very first award for Worst Picture. It almost seems a bit much for me to inflict further misery upon it after all that misfortune.
This is the 80s, darling. You're gonna see a lot of things you've never seen before.
But with lines like that, how can I resist? Let's examine the case of Can't Stop the Music. During opening titles that instantly camp the movie up more than The Birdcage and To Wong Fu Thanks for Everything Julie Newmar put together, we're introduced to a roller skating record store clerk called Jack Morrell.
If I ever needed to get off on time, tonight is the night. I mean, it's practically life or death.
Ugh, thank you so bloody much, stonecutters.
Who makes you Gutenberg a star?
Jack instantly earns sin number 1 with the combination of Gutenberg's performance and the character's general loathsomeness. He starts off by getting himself fired from his job, and the only question is why it didn't happen sooner.
Okay, Schultze, have it your way. But the next time you take inventory in here, you'll be counting the albums of Jack Morrell. Because I am a composer, not a schlepper salesman.
And then he celebrates by roller skating down the middle of a busy New York street and blocking traffic. Seriously, if you aren't hoping this guy will get hit by a bus before the opening credits are over, you have the patience of a saint. Even then you will be sorely tested by the combination of Jack's ego and the way everybody around him insists on bolstering it.
Jack, you were wonderful!
You really mean it?
Yes! Absolutely, you should be recorded.
The odd thing is that Jack Morrell is the movie's analog of Village People composer and impresario Jacques Morali. Since Morali helped produce the film, it's unlikely that he would allow it to paint an unflattering portrait of him, so the only logical conclusion is that he truly thinks Jack is a likable person. That shows poor judgment, but no worse than the average self-insert fanfic writer demonstrates on a regular basis. The reason why Jack has up and quit his job is that he has an opportunity to DJ at a club that night, which he's convinced will be his first step to being discovered and fame and fortune. He shares the good news with his roommate, ex-model Samantha, and their next-door neighbor Felipe, the Indian of the group.
Hey, Felipe, what are you doing up there?
My TV broke. I crawled in the window. It's all right, isn't it?
Get used to that, because sin number 2 is the terrible acting. You'd expect the Village People to be incapable of acting their way out of a wet paper bag, and you wouldn't be disappointed.
God, Leathermen don't get nervous. Leathermen don't get nervous.
Oh, yes, they do.
As if that wasn't enough failed crossover pain, we also have a former Olympic athlete, Bruce Jenner, as tax lawyer and Sam's love interest, Ron White.
I'm Ron White, your sister sent you a cake. A little old lady just robbed me.
But even the people who presumably do this acting thing for a living are lousy. You'd think that at least one minor character might have a decent line reading somewhere. No such luck.
Glad to
I
see
was
you.
leaving an audition this afternoon when I heard this great voice. It was him.
Jack's DJ gig is at a club called Saddle Tramps. Yes, really. Where Felipe also works as a dancer, waiter, rent boy, all of the above. After warming up the crowd, Jack introduces them to his own music via sin number 3, Samantha.
We're moving to the night, a symphony of fly with me, baby. You wanna see me cry? Well, can't you see that I need you now?
It's really weird to introduce Jack's supposed musical genius with this romantic come-on to his roommate, as nothing either before or after the song indicates that his feelings for Samantha are anything other than platonic. That's probably a good thing, as the lyrics would likely send her running in the opposite direction.
You owe it to yourself, with me and no one else. I love you, baby. Stop teasing me this way. Don't kiss and run away. Enjoy it, baby.
The conclusion of the song contains these weird flashes around the dancing clubbers. It's probably not a good idea to watch this scene if you're epileptic. Or if you're not epileptic. This one song convinces Sam that Jack should send his music to recording studios, but for all Jack's talk about wanting to be a big famous hit songsmith, he doesn't want to put in a whole lot of effort towards reaching that goal.
Sam, there's more to it than that.
Like what?
Like it's impossible. Look, nobody has time for anybody, and nobody gives new people a break.
He also needs actual singers to help him cut a demo recording. Luckily, they both happen to know Felipe, who just happens to have a lovely set of pipes.
Do I sing? Do I sing?
When I'm calling you.
And Samantha also just happens to have an aerobics instructor with a fondness for music and cowboy wear.
It's sort of like, got the backbone connected to the hip bone, and the hip bone connected to the thigh bone.
And she just happens to know a fellow model who dresses like a construction worker and wants to be a singer so badly he has an elaborate dream sequence production number about it.
I love you to death. I love you to death. I love you to death. Oh, baby, till there's nothing left. I love you to death. I love you.
At the demo recording party, Sam's token black friend just happens to show up because she just happened to meet singing police officer Ray on her way home from work and just happened to bring him along. Also just happening to be there are Sam's ex-boss Sydney, Sydney's oversexed assistant Lulu, Jack's mom played by June, hey, isn't she Gypsy Rose Lee's sister Havoc, and Ron, who just happens to turn up delivering a cake after he just happens to be mugged by an old lady in the middle of the street. Do you get the feeling that there's a lot of just happening in this movie? Good, because that's sin number 4. The story the movie tells just isn't very interesting. You know what Can't Stop the Music reminds me of? The Muppet Movie. Think about it. It's a heavily fictionalized account of how a group of diverse, colorful performers meet, form a bond, pursue the dream of making it big, and succeed beyond their wildest dreams. But that's where the similarities end. First, the Muppets have distinct characters and personalities, whereas the only thing that distinguishes the Village People from each other is their preference in fetish wear. Second, the Muppet Movie develops the concept better. It introduces each character in a unique way that fits them and gives them something to do in the plot. There are obstacles, an antagonist, and a variety of emotional beats that the story goes through. Because we care for the characters and watch them struggle, we want them to succeed and are happy when they do. Can't Stop the Music never thinks of anything to do with the Village People. In fact, they're secondary characters in their own story. Most of the focus is on Jack, Sam, and Ron, and they're a pain to be around. And it's not that much of a story. Even though most of the main characters quit their jobs in order to throw in with the new band, there's never any sense that there's any risk for them. There are obstacles occasionally, but they're done away with almost as soon as they're introduced, usually by somebody knowing somebody who just happens to have a solution to the problem at hand. Everything comes too easily for the protagonists, so there's no tension and no reason to root for them, even if they weren't all total asshats. The closest thing the movie has to true bad guys are the uptight squares and big industry muckety-mucks who sneer and act shocked at these hip young kids from Greenwich Village. The first of these is Ron, who gets really turned off at the dinner party because everybody's being all colorful and nonconformist, and also because they don't care about the fact that he was just robbed in broad daylight.
I don't understand why a good-looking girl like you is down here in the village with a bunch of... I don't know what!
But his indignation doesn't last any longer than the time it takes for Sam to give him the people should be free to express themselves telling off, so the very next time he meets her, he's practically falling over himself trying to apologize.
I'm a Gemini, got 2 personalities. This is the good one.
Gemini my hoof, you're bipolar. Finally, Jack gets around to cutting a demo, which Sam then pitches to her ex, a doughy producer called Steve Waits. Steve's one personality trait is that he's constantly talking into his phone. Remember, this was back when only big shot workaholics did that sort of thing. But Steve isn't interested in hearing from composers unless they've already got an act attached, so Sam decides to pitch her team of volunteer singers instead. And she basically seduces the still-smitten Steve into auditioning them, even though we just heard her complaining about other producers wanting to seduce her.
I saw a music publisher, a couple of talent agents, and a record company VP.
What'd they say?
Would I discuss it over dinner? Same old casting couch routine.
Later, she celebrates her conquest by spilling hot lasagna all over Ron's crotch.
Oh my God! Oh no! Oh my God!
Right, I'm calling sin number 5 on the humor attempts. They're too self-conscious. You can practically hear the rim shot they wanted to include after every punchline.
And he's going into the party business.
As in Tupperware?
How do you know my sister?
I live next door to her in St. Louis. She must have been 80 years old.
Oh, that's not my sister. She's older than...
The worst by far is Lulu, whose sole purpose in the movie is to be dumb and horny.
Housework is like bad sex. Every time I do it, I swear I will never do it again. Until the next time company comes.
Does anyone else keep expecting to hear Tim Curry's voice every time she opens her mouth?
Oh, Indian is hot. I go for exotic types, particularly when they're half naked.
He carries the Charles Atlas seal of approval.
So, in order to have a proper group to audition, Jack needs more singers. Luckily, Ron offers to let them hold tryouts at his uptight conservative law office. No, really, that's how they refer to it in the script.
This looks like one of these uptight conservative law offices.
Sam's token black friend comes through again, as her boyfriend just happens to be a singing National Guardsman. And a guy in biker leathers who's looking for an extension on his tax returns just happens to wander into the audition by mistake. What are the odds that this rough brute of a man will have an incongruously beautiful singing voice?
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling.
Never let it be said that this movie met a cliche it didn't like. But now it's time for Ron's bosses to take on the uptight square mantle, as they don't appreciate having the Cirque du Soleil cluttering up their lobby. If they're auditioning singers, why do they have all these other acts showing up?
I'm James, and flame's my games.
No. Too easy, even for me. Ron has gotten over his own uptight squaresism in a big hurry, and he quits the firm to represent the new group, which just needs a name in order to be complete.
Ron, dear, didn't Greenwich Village people types go out with the 60s? That's it! The name! Village people!
Huh, that was easy enough. What next? Well, Ron's first act as legal counsel and new bestest bud is to find the village people a rehearsal space. And where do you think it is?
YMCA, it's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for you men to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys.
What exactly was their criteria for a rehearsal hall anyway? Okay, this first place has a lot of space, is very cost-effective. Whatever, does it have a lot of guys in Speedos and naked hot tubbing? Yes, as a matter of fact. Perfect, we'll take it! After the rigorous whatever that was, the village people get to sing Liberation for Steve. And even though the movie tries to pretend the audition is a disaster with microphone feedback and choreography flubs, there's never any sense that the whole thing is falling apart on them. Mostly because the song still sounds like, well, a studio recording they're all lip-syncing to. Steve is quite clearly not interested, but because he likes Sam and still kinda wants to get into her pants, he offers them a small contract. Realizing that the new band has to start somewhere, Sam does the sensible thing and...
Take your offer and stick it in your ear. They're worth a lot more than that.
Why do you always give me this shit?
Yeah, that happened. If I had an ember of sympathy for any of these horrible characters before now, that scene would have snuffed it. Again, the Muppet movie similarly played with the notion of expecting to walk up to some entertainment big shot and automatically receive fame and fortune, but there it was understood that's something that only happens in the movies. And since it had been established that everybody knew they were in a movie, they were able to get away with it on a metafictional level. In Can't Stop the Music, the characters treat instant success not only as something to be expected, but something that they're entitled to. Sam gets an offer that a lot of people trying to break into the music business would sell their souls for. Believe me, I speak from experience. And she spits on it because it doesn't fulfill her unrealistically high standards. It makes her come off as selfish, and it makes her further struggles to get the village people noticed nobody's fault but her own. Not that there's any actual struggling to be had. After a few seconds of disappointment, Jack and Ron hit on their next idea, which is basically to hold their own press junket where they can show the village people off to industry big shots. Sam decides to foot the cost for this plan by whoring herself out to Sydney one last time on the condition that the village people get to tag along. The result is sin number 7, do the shake. Of all the completely out of limbo, self-consciously wedged in production numbers in this movie, this is probably the strangest. It's set up as a commercial for the Dairy Council, encouraging kids to drink their milk by, well, see for yourself.
When they come home from school, all right. They want something that's cold to drink, vitality they need. They also want something good and sweet.
I won't comment on the village people singing the praises of creamy white liquid, as that part is almost certainly intentional. I will, however, comment on the choreography, which is edited at random and as a result has no flow to it, and on the chorus, which feels like it goes on longer than the na-na-nas in Hey Jude.
Do the shake, do the shake, do the shake, do the milkshake, do the shake, do the shake, do the shake, do the shake, do the milkshake, do the shake, vanilla, chocolate.
Besides, the whole thing ends up coming to nothing, as the Dairy Council is a bit ambivalent about the results.
The higher echelon of Madison Avenue feels that it may be too controversial for their American family image.
You think? Hey kids, drink your milk and you too can grow up to become alternative lifestyle icons. That will play very well in the Bible Belt, I'm sure. Luckily, Ron's mother, everybody say it with me now, just happens to do a lot of fundraising functions, and she just happens to offer the village people a benefit gig in the world capital of fabulousness, San Francisco. But all is not rosy, as Ron is upset that Sam was showing a little leg in the milk commercial, and even more upset when she asks Steve to come to the benefit in what does sound like a clear invitation to sexy times.
What were you trying to do? Seduce him into a deal?
Is that actually what you think of me?
I don't know.
Why are we introducing a convoluted third act misunderstanding after a movie nearly entirely free of conflict? Because we still have 25 minutes to burn. Yes, welcome to sin number 8, the excessively drawn-out ending. The tension between Sam and Ron is only a small part of that, and it doesn't last, since in the very next scene Sam has pulled the old switcheroo on Steve and has Jack and his mother board Steve's private jet in her place.
I worked for David Merrick on Broadway. I know about contracts. I think we're going to have to insist on 10% of the first 100% net profits.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Hey, when it comes to pushy stage mothers, she learned from the best.
They're trying to take my baby from me. That's what they're trying to do. Well, over my dead body they will.
Apart from that, the biggest concern is whether or not the village people will get their costumes in time, which lasts about 30 seconds. And from then on out, the whole thing is just one self-gratifying victory lap for the main characters. Jack has contracts for the village people, the press is all over them, Steve is all over the press, Ron gets his job back and proposes to Samantha, and the village people perform the movie's title song, which eventually feels less like a declaration of triumph and more like an invitation to hit the mute button.
You can't stop the music. Nobody can stop the music. Keep two loves apart. Mend a broken heart. Catch a falling star. It's much easier. No, you can't stop the music. Nobody can stop.
it were a little better, I would recommend Can't Stop the Music for its camp value. That's pretty much the only reason anyone listens to the Village People in the first place. But the tedious story and awful main characters make it very difficult to enjoy even on the so bad it's good level. The musical segments are weirdly fascinating, but you're better off searching for them on YouTube rather than enduring the movie for their sake. Therefore, the Court of Musical Hell orders the following punishments. For being such a puffed-up, self-aggrandizing little shit, we condemn Jack Morrell to sit through an entire season of reality television auditions. For the painful writing, especially the painful humor, we condemn screenwriter Bront Woodard to be beaten by a team of Keystone Cops. Finally, for this blatant cash grab of a movie, Alan Carr... well, the attempt has already turned out so badly for him that I don't think I need to add any further punishment. Karma is a beautiful, beautiful thing sometimes. So let it be recorded. This session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell is now adjourned.